Yes. Yeah, hi,
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. Thank you, Scott, for letting us read here. This is going to be a really great reading. I'm very excited because Marci and I have been emailing back and forth since Lana Heckmaneer's published both of our books. And so it's very cool to be teamed up with such a wonderful poet. Her book is blue and green, which are my two favorite colors, for a start. So it must be good. I mean, if nothing else, you should buy the book for the cover. But really, the book is fabulous. And I'm just going to read this poem, which really moved me. It's short, of hers. It's called Childhood with Schizophrenic Mother. Each day, a car wreck. With tiny strength, I breathe life, my mouth to hers. And so, this book, it's lovely. So I'm going to read a bit about Marci. If I can read here. Well, okay. Marci's lean house interrogates the relationships in a woman's life, especially between mother and daughter, and the way these connections ravel and unravel one's sense of being. Her stark landscapes and poignant portraits of the loved ones demonstrate the thoughtful, attentive nature of the writer. And I'm sorry, that's me. I can't read this dark cover. So, without much further introduction, Marci.
Hi. Laura, thank you for that introduction. That was great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for hosting us. It's wonderful to come down to Eugene where it's nice and warm. I'm from Whidbey Island and it's nice, but it's fairly cool. So this is great. I love the weather. So you probably can discern from the poem that Laura read that what the core of my book is about. So just to tell you some background, because that'll give some depth to the reading and to the book. My mother grew up mostly in North Dakota. She was one of 13 children. When she was 18, and she was right in the middle with 6 siblings on either side. When she was 18, they all moved to Oregon and settled in Woodburn. So a lot of this is kind of an Oregon story. She went to the University of Oregon. I believe that's here, Eugene? I'm just teasing. Where she met my dad, who was in the School of Architecture. And she received a teaching degree, and she decided to be a foreign language teacher, and she could speak French, German, and Spanish, having never actually traveled to those countries. But she was I think it was because my Norwegian grandmother spoke Norwegian a lot in the home, and just that ear of languages. And she also had a minor in art. She was a very good painter, very good artist. So, but the tragic thing is that she was mentally ill all her adult life, and that illness took away all these wonderful gifts of hers. And I know there's probably people here who have either experienced that with friends or relatives, or the loss of those wonderful skills through dementia or Alzheimer. So I hope that this book reaches out to other people with similar issues. So she passed away 17 years ago, and I could not have written this book before that. So about 10 years after she passed away, the poems started coming. I didn't know what I was going to do with them ultimately, but they came and I had to write them down. And after a while, I looked at them and I had a collection going. I thought, who is going to read these? You know, they're pretty poignant, they're pretty sad. Why would anyone want to read these? And I realized that loss and grief are part of the human condition. And it's because we come through those challenging times that we are able to move on towards the light. And there's a quote that I'm sorry to say, I don't know where I got it from, but we would not know the stars except for the night. So we see the glimmer, the light, the joy, and it is so much more precious because of the darkness that we've been through, and it really strengthens us and strengthens our character. So as I read other poets and books, they really encouraged me, and Laura helped me remember the last name. Nick Flynn is a poet who wrote a book called Some Ether about his mother who committed suicide, and that book was so helpful to me. Like, if he can be brave enough, I can do this too. And there's another quote this is from Pablo Neruda, from his Nobel speech. All paths lead to the same goal, to convey to others what we are. And we must pass through solitude and difficulty, isolation and silence, in order to reach forth to the enchanted place where we can dance our clumsy dance and sing our sorrowful song. So I love that quote because it's kind of permission to talk about everything that we experience. So the first 3 or 4 poems provide kind of a framework for the story. Is anyone here a Capricorn? Apparently, I showed this to my poetry friend and said, "You're a Capricorn, aren't you?" Apparently, we're very well organized, and I didn't really know that, so it was kind of cute. All right. Men in White, 1967. Speak of the ambulance that bears men in white to the doorstep of a lean house. There lives a mother, her mind a broken shell. She strokes her face as if it could help. Her eyes are shut to the walls. There lives a small daughter. She has already lived long enough for her bones to feel what is not replaceable. The men in white have crisp jackets. Their pants are creased. They look big next to the mother, well fed. Yet they know to soft touch her elbow, gentle her like a calf at roping, the whites of her eyes showing. A needle floats in the orderly's hands. He points to the ambulance. "Step inside, please." And she is gone. After, he is waiting and watching. A man in a brown suit, fumbling. "I'm your dad." Hospital. Interview with the mother. In the small white room, they keep asking, "Can you state a current event?" My childhood was happy. I remember fields of grain bending and growing. I was afraid of spring, those deep unplanted furrows. I wanted to be a storm. Snow in winter was a storm. Lake ice cruelly chopped into blocks to lie in summer sawdust. Summer was heat and watermelon juice, grasshoppers to fit your hand. One day, the wheat stalks were broken, every other one. After school, I skipped rope, but my shadow did not move with me. There was noise and beauty. Grasshoppers came, they spoke and told me to rest. I was so very, very tired. "Rest," they said. I lay in grass, and darkness lay beside me. Mother alone. The dining table stands by itself in the room. The walls are yellow childhood. One person sits there, smoking. I shout for the curtains to open, make darkness escape, air hissing from a balloon. My mother is ash falling from her cigarette, a gray leaf that knows no way but down. I want to believe obedience will make the story right. Monsters and witches slain, ash unburned. The trees outside take the shape of her face, and I'll know next time to craft sweet words with my tongue, tuck the blanket under her chin against the chill. Fairy tale. There once was a small house in a forest. It was brown. Each day the curtains were pulled back and the mother appeared in the window. She held a spoon of clear broth. No. She held an arrow. No. She held an empty spoon. Yes. Soon the curtains were shut. No light shone behind them. But once a year, when the mother appeared at the window, its panes were washed and clear. The mother smiled. She held a spoon of rich stew. The child ate, knowing tomorrow's spoon would taste of dust. So one of the things that helps kids cope in stressful situations is reading, but also art, drawing. Childhood lexicon. Unbidden, they live in her drawings. Minotaurs, ogres, cyclops, her favored serpents, some who dive and spout innocent water. At the sitters, she grazes through a giant Webster's, copies beasts and their unpleasant details. Scales mounted on thorny bodies, sharp claws, 3 toes in front, 2 in back, dragons with her mother's green eyes. In 2nd grade, her aunts, her teacher, remark on her skill with a pencil. It whittles a figure to gray shades, its point cool and sharp. One of the things, as kids become teenagers and enter high school, they realize that they start to look outside of their immediate family and think about, well, I think I'm part of a larger family, you know, the human family, and where do I stand, and where do I fit, and where do other people fit in my life. So the next 2 poems are about that. Rain, Northwest Meeting. I knew the forest duff like my own smell, its dripping moss my sodden retreat. I lay beside logs, coy and warm. The sky burned long branches to my eyes, and under me the beetles turning. I knew that goat hooves are clipped, or they turn to rot. Each hoof grown long would grab the damp, and wistful brown eyes beg mercy. I knew the fisher girl who dropped a line into water, her hook for bullheads, perch, and the cat-eyed dogfish. Gray bellies slit pink by fishermen, their guts ebbing. When the white ferry bucked waves to bring us to the city, I knew its wet streets and their colorless panhandlers, fingers pickled with grime, and my mother embraced their need, dropped crumpled dollars in their cans. I knew my mother's morning dark, brave bus rides to a dreary labor, her evening escape, sweet memory frosted to the bottle, and coiled ruin in the smoke of her cigarettes. I think Oregon has quite a lot of berry fields, am I right? And I grew up on Vashon Island, across from Seattle and Puget Sound, and we had a lot of berry fields too. And that's one way kids make money, and it's another way to visit, experience and meet a whole other set of people. The Berry Fields, 1974. In August, these men come from the city to pick currants, faced, middle-aged, but still young below the skin. They shout greetings as I join them on the crumbling bus, a girl of 14 who braves the smell of malt liquor to earn money for school clothes. Those who still own tenderness offer it. The smiles, the jokes, the gentle pushes to my shoulder as to a little sister. In the fields, I lean over rows beside them. The vet, dark prisoner of his scroll tattoos, chest bare under a leather vest. Indians with broad, planed cheeks, flushed, stiff hair pulled back with a cord, or with a bandana on forehead like Geronimo. A small Filipino man, his hat, USS Kitty Hawk, crushed to his skull, works silently and alone. Currant juice prickles our arms, pant knees are worn from our supplicant kneeling. We are all beggars here, but dignity knits us together. This small family, impermanent, flawed, it made me happy to be claimed. Okay, so in the second section of the book, our publisher, Lana Heckman Ayers, very wisely put a series of poems about a different section. When you become older and adult, you can make choices about living your life a different way than how you grew up and having children. And so there's some poems about children, but also about my grandmother. And aren't grandmothers wonderful? They're that wonderful link. They jump your parents, and so you can have a different kind of relationship with them. So this first little one kind of combines both. My children enact complacency in the 21st century. My son complains again about his turn with the dirty dishes. I think of the young girl who loved flowers, my freckled grandmother, age 8 and leaving her home to be a servant in a rich man's house, even as death smoothed the covers of her mother's bed. It's another one about my wonderful grandmother, and I think I mentioned she was from Norway. She spoke Norwegian in the house. So she came from Norway when she was 18, in about, I want to say 1912, 1914. But as the previous poem said, her family was very poor, and so she was sent off to be a servant to help the household. But this is my memory of her when I was little, and it was a special treat to visit her. And she lived in Woodburn. Iron, excuse me, iron. Grandma says, she says, put the butter on like this. Sizzle goes the waffle iron. Pour the batter, she says. I lift the green jug. Watch white batter like thick cream hit metal peaks. Fill valleys, spill over. Close the lid, she says. Steam rises, hiss. Bubbles peak, dressed in batter. Wait, says Grandma. Then her blue-veined hand with my small freckled one join at the handle, lift together. Take the fork like this, she says. We pierce crisp waffle skin. Grant my plate its patient reward. How gray your eyes are, Grandma, I say. Then her forearm, roped with muscle, lifts her soft hand to smooth my hair. Yes, she says, they are gray like metal, and inside I am strong, and inside you are strong like iron. When the night after Lana emailed me and said my book was accepted for publication, I had a dream that I had to have my book release party in Norway. And there were all these, I'm only 5'3", so there were all these very tall, blonde Norwegians looking down at me and wondering why I was there for my book release party, and I was too, but I think it was Grandma, you know, saying, we're going to do this. All right, so here's the children part. One of the ways we parents help our children deal with their first experience of death is through the death of a pet, right? So this is for all the parents who have a dozen little popsicle stick headstones in their backyard, for the goldfish, the cat, the dog. You know, it's a big experience for kids. It's very important. Turtle. She lies at the bottom of the tank, green and still, resting on colored gravel. Her liquid eyes are open. She does not move. My son cries, asks questions with no answers, then is quiet. With his father's help, he finds a shoebox and prepares it for her oval shell with a trembling hand. A soft rag is chosen from the bin. She is carefully wrapped, corners tucked in just so. His brother helps carry the box to the woods, each holding a brown edge. Between hemlock and alder, they carve a hollow with their shovels, place the box and cast dirt with small hands. Soon it is covered, and gray stones are mounded like a quilt. After, my son names her in a prayer, now companion to others he once knew. So, children and husband. So this is my husband. Love poem with bird. From our bedroom window, you watch all summer the mother on her lichen-padded nest, frail hummingbird swaying on thin branches. Like an Irish grandmother, you fret over the 2 eggs, tiny as pearls, voice exuberant when new beaks probe from under the mother's wings. Daily, you urge the chick's progress, open swallow of mouths, the first down turned to feathers. They were your brave toddlers, whirring wings as if crazed, standing on nest edge, wobbly, tipping, mere moments from falling. One fledgling leaves, and that night the wind blows hard. The lone chick tumbles and clings to trunk bark. You stand watch at our dark window, listening to wind, grieving, worried for everyone's children. My husband's a teacher, so it's kind of doubly poignant. He does care about his students and all people's children a lot. One of the things about poetry is that we can say whatever we want. We can make up stuff. And one of the things that was kind of fun for me with my mom being an artist is, as children, we very often don't realize our parents had a life before us. They had adventures, they did things. So this is my imaginings of my mother having an adventure before I was born. Visiting Frida Kahlo. I know you met her. The titles of your paintings reveal it. Journal your honeymoon trip. Oaxaca, Cuernavaca, Tlaquepaque, Mexico City, 1952, where Frida, unsteady, greets you at her blue door, her brows dark birds. You hug as sisters, two who enjoy a dirty joke, burn of good whiskey, whose fingers twitch for cigarettes and smooth wood paintbrushes. Frida compliments your accent, is pleased you can also chat in German, while monkeys watch from canvas leaves. Diego brings wine in an earthen jug. A bite to eat, he teases. Then Frida dismisses him. She values time with women. From a bureau covered with sugar skulls, feathers, bones, Frida brings out her silver hairbrush. You unclip dark strands gathered at the nape of your slender neck. With lean strokes, she brushes your hair, murmuring folk songs, love poems, brushing, brushing, as if you were a canvas, rough yet full of the skin of life. So, because I'm in Eugene, I added a poem to the reading. My mother actually passed away in Eugene, also. So, unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, I couldn't be here with her on the day she passed. And I felt such terrible guilt about that, that I had to write a poem where I could experience it again, through poetry, an event I couldn't be there for. And this was actually a writing exercise at a workshop, so never negate the exercise they give you, writers and poets, to use nature or a simple household or daily task as a metaphor for something else deeper. So this is more involving the nature aspect. Last visit with my mother. Strange weather, that drenching rain in August. 2 weeks of sunlight only in steamy bursts between showers. Fooled, the apple trees break pink buds against season. Gold stamens reach for summer's waning light. Thrilled, bees clamber for blossoms around flushed cheeks of ripe fruit. A breeze troubles the leaves, and a single petal floats down to rest against a fallen, still apple. So, I've come to my last poem, and in all of this, I wanted to end with a poem where there was a good expression of gratitude to my mother for all that she tried to do. And she did try to be the best mother she could with her limitations, and I really honor that. On filing an anti-harassment order against her, I stand at the government counter to pay my $80, complete the forms that may stop her disturbed visits to my workplace, cease the midnight phone calls, the puzzled inquiries from police when she reports me kidnapped by my husband. This order will place a wall between our faces and divide our voices, but I would say to her now, this is not the final page of our book. Does not erase your caresses that soothe nightmares, does not wash away the Saturday you sewed beads on my campfire girl vest, does not fade the day I waded into the ocean and turned to see you smile at me, red lipstick bright against brown freckles. Thank you.
Marci, thank you for coming here. I'm glad this is being taped so we can listen to those poems again, and of course buy the books. Thank you very much. It's great. I was thinking about introducing Laura to a group of people who know her very, very well, and what to say about our Laura, and then for people who never met her until today. So I think this introduction is for Marci, for Laura. Laura describes or refers to herself in 6 words: synthesizes professed paradoxes, creates the unimagined. And in 7, I always thought I'd be an astronaut. These keys to the galaxy of Laura seem proper 4 notes for Willingly Would I Burn, her full-length Moonpath Press collection launched here. Science, math, and deep heart, rendered in high LeHew, a formidable graphic language worth studying, as Ingrid eloquently indicates on the Willingly cover note. Impossible for me to stick to 6 or 7 words to spotlight Laura for those who might not know her. She is the multi-armed Hindu goddess in our midst, who rarely sleeps. Those strong arms edit everything: words, graphic design, single poems, entire books. Publish, utter chaos. Her press has 10 books of Northwest poetry and 3 on the way. Run, dear Run Associates, her non-poetry business. Host at least 2 critique groups at a time. Salons, guests. Steer the Lane Literary Guild. Serve the OPA, K-Licks, Cake, and 7 Cats. Tend sisters, poets, friends in need of tech or TLC. Laura lives in the realm of possibility where anything can happen, she says. It surely will tonight. Please welcome our own dynamite pattern maker, word shifter, Laura LeHew.
Wow, I'm glad that was taped, because that was pretty amazing. Thank you, Quentin. Back to covers. I can't even do a book unless I know what the cover is. And so when I loved Marci's cover, I loved Marci's cover, and I loved this cover. I couldn't do my thesis until I knew what it would be, which made my committee insane, as you might guess. I am going to start with a poem not in the book. If I can find it. Or not, because I didn't bring it. Okay, or not, because I didn't bring it. So I will start from the book. Maybe now I can write something besides code. Start again with the obvious. Time is luck. If only the light was here, and dreams, probability like gravity, the odds catching up. I've made mistakes, gathered the pale sediment of our lives. Raven and dove, harbingers of hope, tell us everything. A murder of silence, echoes of the larger truth. The path between us slippery. I bring change, the fallacy, finger to flame, a fear of apologizing. Using phantom digits to solve mathematical problems, and all the algorithms it would take. So mostly what I've selected to read today is on the funnier side. This one is not. I wrote this after my friend was diagnosed with breast cancer. Meanwhile, after Wisława Szymborska. 1 out of 8 will, someday, younger, older. It may develop, it has developed. It developed, but not in you. You are not the one because you are still young. Because no mother, no daughter, no sister developed it. Because you never had it. Because your weight is normal. Because you didn't drink much. Because you had a child. Because you had a child before you turned 30. Because you are a male. Fortunate you had your period after you were 12, menopause before 55, normal genes, a good diet, a non-smoker, mindful meditation. For those fortunate monthly self-examinations. What would happen if you were the 12.5% of the population, the 1 out of 8? Where does the math begin? Acquaintances, second cousins twice removed, checkout clerks, drive-through tellers, dental hygienists, the woman at the dog park, are they a part of your count? A myriad of technicalities juxtapose your heart. You, me. And I made this form called the word problem. It's kind of like your nightmare in high school. Well, this is my poetry word problem. This is word problem 3. Karen, a serial monogamist, holds a doctoral degree in ministry. Every 30 days, Karen purchases 3 pounds of Pete's Gaia organic blend coffee at $13.95 a pound for the cost of $41.85, minus her Pete Nix discount of $4, plus $8 shipping, which is calculated at the time of shipment, ground continental U.S., 3 to 8 business days. There is no sales tax since Karen lives in Oregon. Weekly, she purchases 32-ounce cartons of Rice Dream Enriched Original Organic Rice Milk, the perfect non-dairy beverage, enriched with vitamins A, D, and B12, with the same amount of calcium as milk. It's low-fat and all-natural and costs $3.70. She drives 2.55 miles to the grocery store. The cost of gas is currently $3.23 a gallon. Karen's 1999 periwinkle blue VW Passat with heated black leather seats gets 21 miles to the gallon in the city. It has 105,000 miles on the odometer. Recently, Karen went to the car dealer to have the oil changed, mentioning to the service rep that some lights had just come on. 5 hours later, the technician informed her that the ABS system had failed. Her coolant bottle was cracked and leaking. The cam adjuster and valve cover gaskets were leaking oil on the exhaust manifold and engine block, and the motor mounts were leaking hydraulic dampening fluid. The tech suggested replacement. The power steering fluid was dark and dirty. It needed flushing. Brake fluids were due to be changed, the fuel system needed to be flushed, and a fuel filter replaced. AC was not working as the system was reaching high suck pressures due to the AC fan having failed. They suggested replacement. Estimated cost of repairs, $3,200. Blue book value of the car, if it were in moderate shape, $3,208. The car dealer proposed a trade-in. She declined. Karen did, however, authorize an oil change for $29.99 and paid $185.36 for the diagnostic, including labor, parts, and miscellaneous. It was the hottest day of the year, reaching 97 degrees. Driving the car home with the windows down, Karen adjusted the mirrors. The knob broke off and flew out the window. The Nissan Leaf, a 100% electric car with 0 emissions, is priced at $35,000, less than the average driver spends on gas over 10 years. MSRP is $33,720 with federal tax savings from $0 to $7,500. After savings, Karen's net cost could be as low as $26,220, assuming a $1,999 initial customer payment. Alternatively, Karen could purchase a 1999 black Mercedes at the cost of $13,999. It's been converted to use biodiesel and is available today. 16 ounces of rice milk lattes with sugar-free vanilla cost $4.25 from Full City Roasters. Full City is 7 miles away from Karen's home. Which variant gives Karen the smallest carbon footprint, buying her coffee out or brewing her own. Please show your work and don't forget to add in the cost of tipping the barista. Does anybody have an answer on this? Yeah, well, and you know, we do make things up, but a lot of that one was true. Fractions. I wrote this also at a workshop, and I never, ever write anything good for workshops. So I did. I like this one, fractions. Feed and water the cats, let them out, do the dishes, shower, pack my bags. He smoked, he was a loser, he was beautiful, he was so damn dumb. In the movies, he wanted to sit in the back row and eat popcorn. In the dusk, his gray chest hairs electrified, stripped down to nothing, he turns the TV on. I did this interesting poem called Standardized Testing. It's 20 questions. I can't read them all. I'm going to read 2 of them. This is question 16. It's multiple choice. Create a new metaphor. That's how she wanted him. A lovebird in a cage, a book behind a desk, as the boy who cried wolf, shattered like pollen. And question 19. Which of the following is least like the others? Also multiple choice. Poem, novel, painting, statue, flower. This poem is called the L5 Society, and in the 80s there was an organization which was organized to help get people into space, and that was called the L5 Society. 1981. It was spring. It was Kansas City. It was a science fiction convention, Conquest to be precise. It was all I could do not to head straight towards you, not to rip off your caramel-colored bomber jacket, white t-shirt tucked tight, black jeans, black Converse high tops, sink my teeth into you by way of introduction. In the middle of the conference, it was all I could do to convince myself it wouldn't really matter if you weren't exactly smart. My segue to the booth, the smell of you, so Ben and Jerry's vanilla, and still I convinced myself not to wrench the clipboard out of your hands, not to stick my tongue down your throat, even though I knew we would, even though you were smart enough, even though I knew I'd have to give you back, even as your index finger fractioned down the length of mine by way of introduction. The effect of evidence in convincing the mind. I got this from something Tony said one time. Something she said somewhere. Gave me this poem. I am a smoky scent of discontentment, a room darkened to tongues, no tongues, a hand on my buckle, the nervous rattle of pop bottles displaced as we shuffle in a three-dimensional space. Hands fumble each article of clothing we caress. I am a printing proof on the table, draped for the operation that's going to be attempted. To remove the wrench from my thorax without setting off any buzzers, without making my nose light up burnt sienna, in hopes of opening me the perfect vessel. I am tungsten, a filament, lighted by touch, and everywhere a field of chairs. Because my month has been like this, I'm going to read Some Limits to Happiness. 1. Pain was always her objective. 2. leaving your phone at his house. 3, collecting angels. If you survive, I'm the one with walls between us. 4, self-portrait as the wrong journal, as a fiery skirt, a Girl Scout leader, carved upon the palms of her hands. 5, code switching, a false necessity. 6, coyote fence in the windless latitudes. 7, I am starting to recognize you. 8, the nightmare of the earth, the shape of my life, this shift in thought lodged in their throats. 9, a distal fragment. 10, pollen on the roof. This next poem was based on a drawing by Robert Tomlinson, E17. And I wrote this after I had moved to San Francisco and then broken up with the guy I was living with at the time. Uncontested airspace. There is only the dust and the wind, the sun. You have left your lover. Possibly he's the one that left you. You drive to the Black Rock Desert, stopping in Reno for fried chicken and ice. You are on a dry lake bed, the largest flat piece of land on earth. You set up camp. Objects disappear below the horizon. Cars mirage into spacecrafts. Nothing lives here but scorpions and rattlesnakes. You build a rocket, a large, dangerous rocket. You want to blow things up. You put on your pink hard hat, launch your rocket with 16 others, set out to retrieve it, fix it, attempt to launch it again. At night, people launch rockets from base camp. You drink some cheap scotch, refuse to sleep, fearing a rain of shredded metal. You dream you are soaking in a mountain lake. You wake up with your hard hat on, dredged in dust, waiting to be baked. You have never been happier. I still have that pink hard hat. So I'm just going to end with 3 poems not in the book. 2 are from a book I'm working on, and thanks to Marci's book, it gave me the courage to really do my book about dementia on my sister, and I took it down to the Coleraine Manuscript Conference, and so, you know, I guess people do want to read that kind of stuff. Roger was there. Roger was at the Coleraine Conference. He was very helpful. So this is 2 poems from that manuscript. Homegrown. She told the story 1,000,000 times. How she would no longer eat vegetables from the farm unless they were wrapped in plastic. How she would no longer eat things pulled from the dirt or plucked from trees. It never went as far as foregoing the consumption of milk or eggs, just fruits and vegetables. And later, the one time her father said he couldn't believe she was living in the land of fruits and nuts, she thought he meant actual fruits, like the ones wrapped in plastic, and not some stereotype he usually liked to invade. And she was disappointed, but not surprised, when she figured it out. Nor, she supposed, was her father surprised when she grudgingly gave in to the tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, corn, thorny blackberries rustled from the earth. The Adjustment Bureau. I wake up in the middle of the night. My sister Karen stands in the darkened kitchen, fully dressed, hands in her jean pockets, swaying back and forth, like a wraith. I ask her why she didn't wake me up, and she says, I don't know, am I awake? Decrease Alexa due to rocking and restlessness. Switch to Lexapro. A week later, I take her out for coffee or ice cream. You choose, I tell her. And her answer is, "Oh, I don't care, you pick," though she always says both. Her roommate Fern passed, and Karen is stuck in Groundhog Day, the death of her friend relived every 10 minutes or so. Increase Alexa and suggest EKG. And I'm going to end on this poem I just wrote called Memorial Day or Thereabouts. And always the day after the last day of school, we gather at Jane Fitzgerald's house. We are there at our neighbor's to clean her pool, emptied and covered on Labor Day. We scrub and scrub the pale blue concrete until Jane brings us icy Cokes in bottles, rolls out the hose. We wait hour by hour for the pool to fill, for it to be shocked, the scent of chlorine burning our noses. We children ponder why she is Jane and not Mrs. F, where Mr. F is, why our parents whisper about her special friend, Jack. We fidget until Jane declares the pool officially open, belly flop into the startle of cold, grown-ups flop into loungers, popping frosty Pabst Blue ribbons, charcoal is lit, dogs begin their char, Mrs. Smith brings over a watermelon from her yard. Mr. Buckholes drives by in his dented yellow pickup truck, the gate down, loaded with a giant aquarium filled with shaved ice, yodeling, "Snow cones, get your snow cones." Cherry, grape, blue, strawberry, lemon, lime, or root beer, all the flavors of summer. We please, please, please our parents for 3 dimes. My sisters get rainbow, but me, I always get lime. Sticky sweetness dripping down our arms as ice melts faster than we can eat it. At dusk, we ride our bikes behind the truck, spraying for mosquitoes. The mist covers us like a new Girl Scout badge, pulling off their glow, lightning bugs. Thank you.